Okay, we have a guest joining us, as I mentioned before we started. We have Senator Marsha Blackburn, and I just want to tell you the briefest history of her. Everyone knows who she is, and she's also the author of this new book we're going to talk about, which I'm going to show you before she comes on. Here's her new book. It's a fabulous cover, by the way, great cover. But the book is called The Mind of a Conservative Woman, Seeking the Best for Family and Country. You can get it on Amazon. I did. It is a great read, really wonderful book, and very quickly, Senator Blackburn is the first woman senator to be elected to the United States Senate from the great state of Tennessee. She is I think it started in she was elected in 2019. Previous to that, she served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2003 to 2019. Before that, a state senator in the great state of Tennessee, a leader among conservative women. And I believe we have her online, Senator Marsha Blackburn.
Hi there, how are you doing?
I am well, and I'm glad to hear your voice. Good to see you. I'm just happy you're here. Well, you know, this book you've written is tremendous.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we are thrilled to have the book out and in the marketplace, and I tell you, it is doing great because it's a very intentional book, and it focuses on the prejudice and the bias that conservatives get from the mainstream press and from the political left.
Well, that is for sure. You know, one thing I wish we had like 3 hours. I'm pretty sure your office said you do not have 3 hours. So I'm gonna. They said something like you're busy. I don't know, but I do want to try to get to some key things. Plus, I want to ask you your opinion about some current events. But to start with, on your book, one thing I loved is that you really went deep into the thinking behind, you know, kind of the idea of America, the idea what got us around to what America is. You talked about just the historically and anciently what formed the ideas of conservatism. And I know you can't do a lengthy thing, but if you would just share some of those, and you went back to biblical terms, you went back, just describe some of that if you would, please.
Yes, what I did was go back to our nation's founding and look even further back into history as to how we arrived at these principles that we term our first principles, our constitutional principles. And we go back to Jerusalem, the Judeo-Christian ethic, the 12 tribes of Israel, from which we draw our principles of federalism. We look at what we learned from the Greeks with political awareness and philosophy, and Romans with the law and social awareness, and then Parliament from London, our founding documents from Philadelphia. And then we look at the French Revolution and the writings of de Tocqueville and Burke, and also Russell Kirk and William F. Buckley, and then come to modern-day conservatism.
I love that you did that. That was a great summary. I'm impressed how quickly you go through that, but it's so important because I think a lot of times if people aren't aware of the kind of history you describe, it's kind of the history of ideas, the history of ideology. Where did all these ideas come from? And you kind of wake up one day and think about America as a blank slate. You can get sidetracked into thinking kind of anything goes. Any kind of economic policy might be okay. Any kind of government regulation might be okay, because you don't have this grounding that you provide. And it's a brilliant way to inform people. I love that about your book. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that we note, conservatives and many times independents who lean center-right, they will talk about principles. And what do you hear from the left? The left will talk about government control and trendy ideas and mandates that are going to be given by government. So we come at this from different sides, and you're exactly right. It is imperative that women who are serving in elective office be able to define why they are a conservative. It is imperative that those who speak up and express their opinions in the public square are able to say, this is what I believe and why. And whether you're talking to a friend, a family member, or a coworker, or one of your children, you want to be able to say, this is why, we believe what we believe. This is why I hold the positions that I hold and talk about it and realize, where did this Judeo-Christian ethic come from? Where did these principles of federalism come from? Where did respect for the rule of law and justice come from? Where is it that we say we should have the right to that political expression and know where it came from, so that I tell you, I really believe that if you don't know your history, then you don't know what you're made of. And you don't have that concrete feeling in your beliefs.
I could not agree more, and I think among the problematic things in America is that our education system has changed over the last 1 or 2, maybe even 3 decades, where students learn less and less about these founding ideas. And I'm talking about from junior high school, college. We learn less and less about these ideas, and so kids emerge from college, even college-educated young people, not having any rooting in this. And so when they hear ideas like rule of law, they think, well, that's just one way to think, but there's something else equally valid. I mean, isn't our education system in need of reinforcements to help young people figure out all of this that you wrote out?
Well, we are, and our education system is. But the point to this is, if they're not going to teach it, I know so many women who say, for me, it was, and they've read the book, or I will tell you, one of the things is a lot of men have read the book, and they love the part on the history and on our heritage and what conservatives believe in, even though this book is written primarily for women because of the bias that they face by the media and by the left, who thinks that women should be a monolithic group. I have heard from so many men who have said, this is great information. It helps me understand what my wife or my daughter or my sister is up against on a daily basis.
Yes, I could not agree more. And it's actually interesting, in this time in 2020, watching the political scene in America, you have messaging from Candace Owens, who's leading the Blexit, and Brandon Tatum leading the Blexit movement, trying to make this point about you shouldn't be told because of your skin color how you think. You shouldn't be treated as a monolithic unit as you are by the Democrat Party. And it's so true with respect to women, too. There has been messaging from the left, because you're a woman, you believe this, you like this, you don't like this. And it's such a breath of fresh air to have an inspired message that you're giving, that no, women actually, we can think for ourselves, and we need to think for ourselves. We need to be reasserting that we aren't going to be told, we're not going to be politically assigned how to think. I love that you're making that point.
Well, we think that it is an important point to make. And I will tell you, some of the most fun I had in writing this book, and I was writing it in 2019, and I said only God knew how timely it was going to be for the 2020 election. But one of the things I enjoyed most was writing the chapter about the Stepford wives of liberalism and focusing on how they come up with these talking points, and every member of Congress, every talking head on TV, every pundit, they use the exact same word, the exact same phrasing, and even the same inflection in that phrasing. And they expect women to be a part of this monolithic group. And they basically say to women who are pro-life, pro-family, pro-business, pro-military, that, look, your opinion doesn't count. And women are tired of that. And so many times, this is also a great book for women who are independent. And I would be speaking many times to business groups, and somebody would stand up during Q&A and they would say, Marsha, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an independent. And most women are an independent. And so they would say, I look at the issues. I look at the candidates. Then I make up my mind. And so finally I started to say, tell me what your filter is. when you look at issues in candidates? Tell me what's important. What's your filter? And coming back to me would be things like, I want somebody that respects the Constitution, that agrees with the rule of law and abiding by the rule of law and plays by the rules. And I want equality. I want justice for everybody. I want fairness in the system. I want government out of my way. I don't want them to make my health care decisions and my child's educational decisions. I want to make certain there is opportunity for all of our children. And I realized finally that what they were giving me was a conservative construct. It is just that women who are independent need a landing place. So this book is a great landing place. So your listeners and viewers should pick one up, read it, and then pass it to a neighbor and have them read it.
Absolutely true, and I love that point about how what you ask people what they stand for, and they run through a litany of things, and they want to kind of say, this is how I see things, what I believe in, and they're not necessarily, they aren't aware that it's pretty much what the conservatives say, but they want to feel like they got there on their own. And actually, everyone likes that feeling, like I didn't just get told what to think, I learned how I think. But what they are saying to you are things that really the Republican Party stands for. That is, they've got a choice to make that does validate the views that they have.
Yes,
yep.
That is right. And it is our job to help them understand who they are and what their political leaning is. And in the book, I give guidelines for how to have those difficult conversations with friends and family, how to talk about issues like immigration and taxes and abortion and the military and some of the issues that come up literally every day. And we think that it is exciting. This is an exciting time for conservative women to step up. And instead of just staying silent when somebody says, oh, this is exactly how this ought to be, that you say, well, that is one point, but what if this is how it ought to be? Because we've lost that ability to have that point to counterpoint. And our nation and freedom's cause has been so well served by having respectful, robust political debate.
You are, Senator Blackburn, I probably haven't ever listened to my show before, but you're singing my song. I just talk about this is the greatest thing about America. We should be celebrating. We're founded in these ideas of robust political debate and listening to each other, exchange of ideas without name calling, but just substance. And yes, your book is brilliant in helping people do that. I know you're about out of time on your schedule, but I do want to ask you, you had this reference to one of my favorite women in history, Margaret Thatcher. I just love that you talked about her. It's kind of like I've thought before, I wish we could just clone her and bring her into our generation. But I see you as actually very similar to her as being a trailblazer, as being a person who's not just going along with the crowd, but saying what you think. So have you found it hard to be in the Senate and be a Margaret Thatcher type leader person, or do you find that you're bringing people behind you? How does it feel to be a person like that in the Senate today?
Listen, I am always opening doors for others and pushing through glass ceilings and moving barriers. And when people say things that are unkind or mean, and in the book you probably chuckled as you read some of the things I've been called by the left. But the thing that I do is I say, shake it off. Just move on. Keep your eye on the goal. And that is what we're going to do.
Absolutely. I want to commend you also for it was so exciting that President Trump invited you to speak at the Republican National Committee. Commend you. Just a beautiful, first of all, just a beautiful set of remarks and beautiful presentation. Great job. And I do think, I want to, wrap up with this. So I know that I'm so glad he had you there speaking at the RNC. I think that one job women have, because there's often talk about, somehow women aren't going to support President Trump. I think Trump's agenda has done wonderful things for America and for women. And I think that's part of selling him and the importance of women supporting him. It's incumbent on all of us to try to do that. So I'd love to hear. I'm sure you talk to women about support for President Trump. What's your sense about how we're going to, is he moving forward, making progress with the women's vote?
Yes, he is. And here is the thing. The number one issue with women is safety and security. The number two issue is the economy. The number three issue is school choice. And President Trump outpolls Joe Biden on all three of those issues.
And there you have it. You know, I saw you've given interviews recently relating to China and this Chinese virologist, what she's been saying. And so I'd love another time, maybe we'll have you on to talk about that. But for today, I want to be sure and share with our listeners. Again, I'm showing them your book. It is The Mind of a Conservative Woman, Seeking the Best for Family and Country by Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you. And the book is available at all major retailers, either in store or online. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks for that great book. Thank you so, and the great interview. It is really truly a great book.